This podcast was shot a couple of weeks ago and it's probably one of the most interesting conversations I've had on this channel yet. And I learned so much from it that I don't even think that I could have learned if I just researched it normally. And it was probably one of the most interesting conversations I've had. And anyone who's clicked on this video should watch till the end, not because it's just my channel, because the amount of information that you're going to learn from this video alone is tremendous. So if you do not believe me, I'm going to roll a couple of clips that you can watch and you can decide for yourself if you want to watch it or not. So yeah, without further ado, play the clips.
The tip that I learned from a pro bodybuilder: get a bag of Doritos, open it, eat one chip. Eat one, just one, not two, just one, because no one's gonna eat just one, right? Eat just one. Get that salt in you. I promise you, within the next 2 hours, you'll be starving. Your body goes into deep sleep. It does like all the repair and everything, like the maintenance.
Yeah.
And then your body enters REM sleep to kind of test drive. You're consistently being inconsistent. Or inconsistently being consistent. No matter how you say it, you're inconsistent. Firstly, you need to calculate how much you're eating. Again, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. What gets measured gets managed. What gets managed gets done. So the first step is measure it.
Of course.
Personally, I don't train the next day if I get less than 6 hours of sleep.
Oh, really?
So that's my bare minimum. Motivation helps you get started. Discipline keeps you going. Motivation is you doing something because you want to do it. Discipline is you do something even though you don't feel like doing it.
Hello, Muneeb. How are you?
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me.
So I just want to give a small background. What are you? What do you do?
So as you said, we met in the gym. I work there as a personal trainer. How did I get started? I started off as a very skinny kid. I was shy. I was introverted. I was bullied in school.
Really?
Yeah, I was bullied in school.
For being too skinny?
For being, I mean, that. Honestly, I don't know, but that's probably one of the reasons. The other reason is that I was small. I was skinny. I was shy. I was introverted, didn't have that many friends. I would keep to myself, mind my own business. Kind of like an easy target, you would say. So, every school has bullies.
Of course.
Yeah. So that used to be in Karachi.
Oh, okay.
So 2009, I moved to Saudi Arabia. So that's when it kind of like the change in environment. So no more bullying and everything.
Of course.
So that's when, like a few years after I moved to Saudi, I started going to the gym. When I was about 17, I'm 29 now. So I've been going to the gym for
12 years.
12 years, yeah. The reason I hesitated is because it's been on and off. I didn't have a coach at all. Because when I got into fitness, I'll tell you the story. The high school I went to, it was American system. So we had a weight training class.
All right, okay.
It was graded. You get a grade at the end and everything. The way you get an A is you track your workouts and you show the coach. That's it. So I used to be a very skinny kid. So the coach took a look at me. He said, skinny dude, I know exactly what you need. So he gave me a program. And I did not know the names of any exercises or what muscle they work or anything like that. So I would... I still remember it was a 1-month program, and it was supposed to be a very high volume training approach, and it was supposed to help me gain a little bit of muscle. So as the proper procedure goes, you stand on the scale, you take your measurements, you check your weight and whatever. So I still remember I was 57 kgs, yeah, at about 5'9". So quite skinny.
Yeah.
So 1 month in, just going through the motions of the exercises. A month later, because all I did was show up for class. It was a class. It was class time, but I was in the weight room. 1 month later, I would step on the scale again, and my weight would be 61.
Oh, really? You gained weight fast?
Yeah, because like those are newbie gains, which I'll get into later in the podcast. It was 61, and I was surprised. And I looked at my coach. I'm like, "How did that happen?" He's like, "Good, you gained muscle. Now, flex your arm. We'll check the measurements of your arm." And I'll never forget this. That moment when I flexed my arm, I saw this little bump of the bicep, and that's when I was just like, "Man, this is amazing." And then the coach said, "Okay, if you stop, you're gonna lose it." So that's when I just got hooked.
So how was your progress at the start when you started it? The first couple of months, let's say.
The first couple of months, if you're doing it regularly, if you're doing it consistently,
Were you consistent?
yeah.
Okay.
It was a class, so I had to go.
Okay.
So it's not like I had a choice. I didn't know that nutrition was actually a factor. So I was just eating hummus and French fries and chicken salads with like heavy dressing, and I mean, yeah, it's a lot of calories, but they helped me gain the weight.
Were you skinny or skinny fat?
Nah, just skinny.
Oh, just skinny.
Just skinny.
So no muscle at all.
Nope.
And no fat as well.
No.
Just skinny.
Yeah. In fact, the measurements that I was talking about that we took, I was 5% body fat.
Really?
I was skin and bones.
What were the biggest mistakes that you made when you first started going to the gym?
Overthinking.
Overthinking
about everything. Like,
how many reps should I do? How many sets should I be
oh,
doing?
yeah.
Stuff like that.
How much should I rest? 45 seconds or 60 seconds? Which protein powder brand should I use? Optimum Nutrition or Nitrotech or whatever? The timing of the meals, like, okay, I have to wake up and immediately get a scoop of whey protein, otherwise I'm gonna, like, these bro science magazines. Like, at the time there were a lot of magazines, so I would read about them and just overthink myself a lot.
If I'm not wrong, none of that really matters when it comes to the gym, right? It's just getting started first, and then you can worry about those things later on.
So you can say those are the pennies, not the dollar bills.
Okay, got it. Yeah, the dollar bill is just getting started in the first place.
Yeah, it's the consistency. It's just doing the exercise. It's just following a diet. Even if you're not doing it properly, you don't have to have everything figured out. You figure out as you do the stuff.
Of course.
Right. So
the whole process is a learning journey for you. The whole process is a learning journey for you.
Yes, of course. So it was. Another mistake I made, I was going to touch on that, was I would have like 5 scoops of protein a day.
Oh.
Thinking that would make me
bulk up
faster, but that's not the case. Supplements are called supplements for a reason.
So your parents allowed you to buy supplements at that age?
Yeah. It took a little bit of convincing, even from my coach in high school.
Oh,
he
really?
said that, yeah, okay, he can start taking whey protein, so that kind of helped. But when I first brought it up, it was a struggle. And that's a struggle I also see a lot of kids in the gym go through, because a young boy, 16, 17-year-old, would come to the gym and I would see him work out, and he's working out fine. And then he would come to me, "Coach Muneeb, I want to get big. How do I get big?" And then I would ask them about their diet. First thing I'll ask is about their diet. How many calories are you getting? How much protein are you eating? Right? And based on what they tell me, to some of them, not all of them, I would recommend the use of a whey protein supplement. Right? And most of the time,
my parents won't allow it.
Yeah, basically, my parents are against it. Why? Because they think it's harmful. So in this day and age, anything that helps you build muscle is somehow harmful, because their mind is going towards like steroids and drugs and all that. But whey protein is a milk derivative. So it comes from milk, just like yogurt, just like cheese, just like any other dairy product. The way I'll just give like a short explanation. Whey protein is made by filtering out the liquid components from the solid components in milk. So milk is put in a centrifuge. The centrifuge spins at very high speeds, and that separates the solids from the liquids. The liquid actually is a very small percentage.
Yeah, you told me about it. The first conversation we had in the gym was about whey protein and creatine and all of that.
Yeah. So that's how whey protein is made. It's just a simple filtration process. And that liquid that comes out, the solids will become your other dairy products. The liquid that comes out is actually very small percentage. So you need like 300 to 350 kilograms of milk to get one tub of protein powder.
That's why it's so expensive as well.
Yeah, because it takes a lot of milk to
Create it.
yeah.
So you're obviously now a personal trainer. How did you become a personal trainer? Like, what was the journey? You know, obviously you started out as a skinny boy, then you became, possibly, you know, you got jacked, and then you became a personal trainer. So what was the journey to becoming a personal trainer?
Well, okay, so I was studying computer science. At that time, I didn't know that fitness is actually a
What profession?
yeah, it's a profession, like a proper profession. But in my final year of university, I actually found out that it's a profession, and you can actually make pretty good money
Yeah.
in this, depending on you and your skills and the value you provide. So when I figured that out, because in university I started to, you know, track my calories, track my macros, get on a diet, a proper diet. And that's where I gained most of my size.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I think I told you I went from 57 to
61.
61, and then it took me 2 years to kind of drag myself up to 63. And then I was just like, okay, I need to follow a program.
Yeah.
So I picked a program. Back then, bodybuilding.com used to be free. Now it's a paywall. Anyway, so I would follow this program. It was a muscle building program, and I followed it to the T.
Really?
I followed it to the T. The diet plan was laid out. The how many calories, how
Grams
much
of
protein,
yeah.
whatever. It was all laid out. The workout plan was given. So I just followed it. And every week I would see my weight jump up and jump up and jump up. And then I would hear from my batchmates too, like, Muneeb, are you going to the gym? You're getting bigger. So that kind of like reinforced that, okay, I'm doing something right. What I'm doing is working. So I just kept going at it. So my weight became 72 by the end of the program. And then I maintained that throughout the years. I focused on gaining strength. I focused on staying in shape. And yeah, back to your question about how did I become a personal trainer. Because I was at a I was at a seminar, and the speaker was saying if you have a skill that you can monetize, you can, you know, you can make that a profession.
Yeah, of course.
Right? So how do you know if you have a skill that you can monetize? Is there a question that people ask you for help on a weekly basis? And I was like, yeah. They ask me for gym advice. And I would take a lot of my friends with me because they're like, hey, we want to go to the gym with you. So we would go to the university gym, and I would like give them tips, and yeah, I would teach them and everything. So when I figured out that this is a profession, final year of university, I was struggling because I did not like computer science.
Really?
Yeah. So told my parents, like, I don't want to do this. And they're like, okay.
Really? They were open to the fact you wanted to do?
Yeah, because they knew I was struggling too. They were like, okay, get the degree, and do whatever you want. I'm like, all right. So that's what I did. I did my qualifications, all my certifications, exams, assessments. Then COVID came. Then I had to go back to Karachi. And then that's where I started working as a personal trainer. Because all the computer engineering related jobs were paying very little.
Yeah, at that time.
And when I became a personal trainer, they were paying me 3 times that much. So I was like, okay, yeah, sure. No brainer. And then I worked in a gym called Platinum Fitness.
Platinum Fitness.
Yeah. And then another gym called TriFit opened.
Yeah, we talked about this.
Yeah, in 2022, I got hired before they opened when they only had a studio. So I was training clients in the studio. Then they opened the gym, which is the first international level gym in Pakistan. So that's where I worked for a year and a half. Then I came to UAE. I got an offer from UAE. I applied. The same type of operation, so it was easy for me, and now I'm here.
Do you need any qualifications to become a personal trainer, or is it just apply
No,
and
no. Of course,
really?
of course. You need a degree to be an engineer, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So just like any other profession. So there's a governing organization. It's called REPS UAE. REPS stands for Register of Exercise Professionals. They have a list of approved courses. So you go to their website, you take a look at the courses, you select one of them, and then you do your level 3 certification, which is the entry level. And then you just, once you get that, then REPS UAE gives you a certificate saying that you are legally
A personal trainer.
yeah, that can practice this profession in the UAE. And then you have to continue your professional development, so that you're up to date, because like this field, research is happening on different topics about fitness, and you have to be up to date.
Yeah, of course. How important do you think fitness is in terms of, a student? Because a lot of students don't get time to do that, but we'll come to that later. But how important do you think fitness is in general is important to students?
I think fitness is important because health comes first,
Beyond everything.
beyond everything. And as a personal trainer, I know that we stand at the front line of the healthcare system, because we're taking direct preventative measures. Because the most common type of people who come to me in the gym saying that they want to lose weight or whatever goal they have, because my doctor told me to. And the first thought that comes into my head is like, why did it get to that point? Because you went to the doctor, you saw something that's really wrong, and you really have to start going to the gym to improve your health, because maybe you have very high blood pressure, or maybe your blood sugar is too high, or anything. But like I always say, prevention is better than cure. So you got sick. Now you're going to have to spend time curing the sickness, and that will get you back to square one. And from square one, you start to become fit and healthy, and that's
so why
when you
not do it
start.
in the first place without avoiding the cure in the first place?
Exactly.
So what is the optimum amount of times a student should go per week? Like, let's say they're really running short on time. What is the optimum amount of times they should go to the gym per week?
How many days a week? Anywhere from 3 days or more.
3 days or more.
3 days or more.
But don't you need, like, I think 2 rest days at minimum?
That depends. Like, that depends on a lot of factors. Well, in case of students, yeah, you can take 2 rest days. 2 rest days are fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Rest days are important for recovery, because if you go to the gym every day,
your muscles
you will
won't get time to
overtrain.
they won't get time to recover.
Yeah, not just your muscles, but also your nervous system.
How does that correlate?
Because your muscles can recover, but your nervous system might need a bit more time to recover. Like, let's say if you're on a strength program, then it's more taxing on the nervous system, because there have been times where you've been pushing too hard in the gym, and then one day you're just overreached, you're tired, you're more fatigued than usual, because your body's natural ability to recover, it can't keep up with that high volume approach
Training,
that you might be training. Yeah. So back to students, running short on time, then I think the best thing for you to do is manage your time properly. Like, first look at that time management, because you should have 1 hour a day, and most universities have
free gyms. Yeah.
So you can just go in between classes.
What about schools? Because schools don't have gyms.
Yeah, schools don't have gyms. So just try your best to do whatever you can at home. And if you're in school, and well, if you're a teenager in general, all you need is body weight exercises and just dumbbells.
Aren't bodyweight exercises called calisthenics, if I'm not wrong?
No.
Or is that something else? Calisthenics or something?
You don't have to go that far into doing body weight exercises or at that level of doing body weight exercises, but you can do push-ups.
Okay, so push-ups and stuff like that for your triceps, chest, and stuff. You know,
Yeah.
that's and you can grab any item and then you can start lifting it as well.
Yeah.
Because I've seen people who don't have who can't afford gym use backpacks with stones in them to lift,
Yeah.
and that works for them.
Yeah.
And not only that, not only like in terms of health, but also mental health wise, going to the gym affects your mental health a lot in a positive way, obviously.
Of course.
And can you give like some explanation why is it that like it improves your mental health, and how does it exactly do that?
So, research shows time and time again that exercise releases endorphins.
Okay,
And- and
the
this is
hormone
just-
that makes you happy, right? The happiness hormone, that's what they call it.
Yeah, like it, and especially for students, and I'll get into that later. For equally for students and for
Adults.
adults who are working 9 to 5s, because yes, it does improve your mental health. It helps fight depression like anything.
Really?
Yeah, it's probably one of the best preventative measures you can take for depression, because it enhances cognitive function, it enhances immunity,
It makes you feel good
enhances-
about yourself as well.
Yeah,
Self-esteem.
yeah. So that's the mental part, but also the physical kind of ties in with the mental, right? Because when you have endorphins after a good workout, your mind becomes clear and you can think better.
Of
So
course.
if you have exams, and this is something that needs more awareness. If you have exams and you're in your room and you're studying the whole day, you have to take an hour out. You have to take an hour out.
For your own sanity.
And yeah, I mean, yeah, but more to de-stress your mind, because your physical and your mental sometimes, in some aspects, they work in inverse.
Yeah.
So if you're physically exhausted, you need to exhaust yourself mentally to recharge yourself physically. If you're mentally exhausted, then you need to exhaust yourself physically so that you recharge mentally. So let's say you're studying, you're mentally exhausted. You're in your room all day, you're not, there's no movement. So take an hour out, go to the gym, get a good workout in, come back, and you'll be able to think clearly.
I think meditation helps with that a lot. Have you tried meditation before? Because I've heard that it reduces stress a lot, and there's a lot of scientific evidence to prove that.
Yeah. For some people, exercise is meditation. For some people, it's their me time. So for some people, it's more mental than physical. They just have to exert themselves physically so that they come out of the workout with a clear mind, so that they can, handle the problems that they have.
Are there specific exercises that help you reduce stress more than the others, or is it like all do the same thing?
No, they all do the same thing. Muscle contractions in general release endorphins.
Endorphins, yeah.
Yeah.
So that just helps you become better mentally as well. And what is the role of sleeping, which is very important? Sleep is like probably, and I've said this in my videos a lot, time and time again. If you want to succeed in academics, you have to be getting good sleep. 5 hours, 4 hours won't do enough. You have to be getting minimum 6, 7, or 8. 8 is like the best you can get, but then again, it gets hard. But what is it? What the role does it play in your opinion in terms of academics and gym as well? Obviously,
7 to 9 hours.
7 to 9 hours.
7 to 9 hours. Me personally, so there's a mental and a physical aspect. For sleep, same thing. So there's deep sleep and then there's REM sleep.
I've heard of this, yeah.
The REM sleep is, if you get good REM sleep, you're going to be able to mentally focus better the next day. Deep sleep, the more deep sleep you get, and especially in the first sleep cycle, if you get...
It's a 90-hour cycle, 90-minute cycle, right? If I'm not wrong.
That depends on person to person.
Okay.
So the deep sleep is going to help with physical recovery. The REM sleep is going to help with mental focus.
Okay.
REM sleep is not the same as deep sleep.
You're more awake in REM sleep, if I'm not wrong. It's
Yes.
more, yeah.
Yes. So it's kind of like your body goes into deep sleep. It does like all the repair and everything, like the maintenance,
Yeah.
and then your body enters REM sleep to kind of test drive.
Ah, okay, makes sense.
Yeah, and then you go back into deep sleep again.
Hmm.
But that deep sleep is shorter, or it should be.
Hmm.
If your circadian rhythm is fine, then the first time you go into deep sleep is
Yeah.
longer, and then subsequent deep sleep
It gets shorter and
episodes
shorter.
are shorter and shorter, and then subsequent REM sleep cycles become longer until your body decides, okay, the test driving is successful. This person can wake up now.
What cycle does dreaming occur in? REM or
REM.
deep? REM, right? Because that's when it's testing everything out. So dreaming occurs in that as well.
I don't know too much about dreaming, but
Yeah.
yeah. So sleep is important because again, you're training, you're working out, so you need physical recovery.
Of course.
Personally, I don't train the next day if I get less than 6 hours of sleep.
Oh,
So
really?
that's my bare minimum. And fortunately, because I'm so focused on recovery and injury prevention, I train heavy. I do deadlifts and squats without a belt. I don't take any support in my training, or like from straps or any, like, I don't use a lot of that stuff. I just lift raw heavy weights. I've never been injured because I take care of recovery and I don't push myself too much. If I know that I'm going to deadlift, let's say if I deadlift 180 kilos, I know that if I wear a belt, I can easily go for 200, but why would I do that?
Yeah, because
That doesn't make sense
belt
to
is
me.
unnatural, right? Is that the reason?
Yeah, I mean, if you're preparing for a competition, but that's not relevant towards students.
Yeah.
If you're preparing for a competition and the belt is allowed, yeah, you go for it. But for you to get better every day for yourself, a belt does not make sense to me because you're only as strong as your weak link.
Yeah.
If you wear a belt, your legs, your back, your arms, they all become really strong, but your core becomes weak because you're not using your core to brace
Yeah.
yourself. The belt is doing it for
You're
you.
relying on the belt.
Yeah. So when you take your belt off and you attempt the same weight, high chance you get injured.
Makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So also to retain the material that you've studied for and you've pulled an all-nighter for, I don't recommend all-nighters, by the way.
Yeah, because
if you've studied so hard, then you need a good night's sleep, 7 to 9 hours, to be able to actually retain. Because if you're sleep deprived, you're not gonna be able to think properly. You're not gonna retain the material that you've learned. So yeah, sleep is very important. And I would recommend sleep early and then wake up early and then study during that time instead of staying up late and then waking up late.
And the reason behind that is?
The reason behind is that there is a link between waking up early and having
performance.
better memory.
Yeah. Cognitive function is the best in the morning. It depends person to person, but for most people in the morning, they are able to function better.
Yeah. Depends on person to person.
And now, what happens if someone struggles with time management? How can they, manage their time better? And especially in the case of students, because they have a lot of homework, they have a lot of assignments to do, they have different stuff going on. So how can they manage their time better? And more importantly, make time for the gym, because gym is essential in a student's life, and those who don't do it are really missing out.
Yes. So how can you manage your time better? Well, that depends on what your daily schedule is. Some people have to commute farther from school to their home, and that takes up a lot of time in the day.
And energy as well, because
And
it's not
energy as
easy
well.
to...
Yeah, so you have to take a look at your entire day, figure out what you can sacrifice to make time for the gym. You have to figure out if fitness is a priority for you. If you say, yes, it's a priority, okay, I have all these other different things that I do in the day. What can I give up? What has lower priority than the gym? Because if you want to make fitness a priority and your whole day is booked,
Yeah.
or you're busy the whole day, and if everything you're doing that day, you're not willing to give up any of that, then fitness is not really a priority. Then you
Yeah.
have to like sit down and re-examine.
Of course. But you still have to try somehow to get just a little bit of fitness in, despite how busy your schedule is. Because fitness is in terms, because you can eat as much as you want, but if you don't lose those calories, or if you don't control your diet, which is way more important than, just burning calories, then you are going to get fat and you're going to lose self-confidence, self-esteem, and all of that will affect you as well.
Yeah, and your health will get affected too. 'Cause
Yeah.
I've had batchmates who studied the whole day and they would get sick a lot. They would not get enough sleep.
Hmm.
They would spend hours and hours in the library. They would not get enough, like, like even time outside,
Hmm.
and they would get sick a lot. They
Getting
would be,
getting the sun is very important because it has some vitamin. I'm not sure which vitamin it is.
yeah, sunlight,
s-
when it comes in contact with the skin, it produces vitamin D.
Yeah, vitamin D.
Yeah.
And that's essential for you, and especially early in the morning.
Yeah, morning sun has been shown to increase vitamin D.
Also, what are the best ways to manage your time? Because I used to struggle a lot with time management, and I still do sometimes, but it's much better now than what it was perhaps 1 or 2 years ago. The ways I see best for time management is I started making a calendar, and I started making a to-do list. So the day before, the next day, I would write a to-do list and write the most important points that what I'm gonna do this day.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
it.
using that, and I was able to manage my time. These are my priorities, and anything else comes after I've done all of these things. And that just helped me allowed me to manage my time much better. Is this the same for you, and for what you would advise to others as well?
Um, I would say that the 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 fewer things you have in your day, the better you'll be able to manage your time. So don't make yourself too busy with a lot of different things, right?
Yeah.
You can do one thing really well, but you can't do everything really well at the same time.
100%.
So if you spread yourself out too thin,
Hmm.
you're not going to be able to because you're juggling 50
Different
balls
thing. Yeah.
instead of two or three.
Yeah.
So focus on what's the most important. So when I was a student, it was gym,
Hmm.
my diet,
Hmm.
and my sleep.
Hmm.
Because
Not studying.
yeah, I mean, of course, the rest of
Yeah.
the time I would
Study.
spend studying, or because I don't, and that's just me because I'm naturally an introvert. It's easy for me because there's three things and you can only pick two. There's work or studies, sleep, or social life.
Social life, and
So-
you
so a lot of people
sacrifice
pick-
social life.
Yep. A lot of people pick social life and work, and they sacrifice sleep.
Sleep. That's very true, because a lot of people do that. Like, especially in like other countries, you'd see they go out at night partying and all of that, and that causes a lot of hangovers, and then they lose sleep on that. And
I
it's
mean,
just
not even
weird.
that. If you have a headache every morning, I see you at work, and you're trying to fight off your sleep with coffee, and you're taking, I don't know, Panadol and all that stuff. You're doing all that stuff, but just get some sleep.
Yeah.
Oh no, I have to go out, and because I've had conversations with colleagues like this. I have to go out and I have to see my friends, and I have to go out with them and like have fun because that makes me
Happy.
de-stress.
Ah, okay.
Right? Okay, well, I would challenge you to get a good night's sleep, 8 to 9 hours, and see how you feel the next morning.
What about people who struggle with sleeping? So they, even if they try to sleep, they just cannot. It's just physically impossible for them. They lay there in bed for 1 or 2 hours, and then finally they go asleep. But even when they fall asleep, they're light sleepers. So even the smallest of disturbances or noises can wake them up. So what happens in that case? Because I know a couple of friends who do struggle with that, and their life is a nightmare because of that.
So there's something called sleep hygiene that you have to take care of, right? So keep the room cold. It should be between 20 and 22 degrees. Keep the room cold. Keep it dark. So none of these digital,
the blinking lights.
these blinking lights. None of that. Just keep the room dark, and cold.
And I think
Start to wind
yeah.
down an hour or 2 hours early.
Yeah, I've heard somewhere that you should not use your devices like I think 1 hour before bedtime or something like that.
Yeah, because the blue light, I mean,
Hmm.
we all have heard it by now. The
Yeah.
blue light interferes with your circadian rhythm. But now, what most companies have started doing is that they've included
Yellow shift or something like that. I
yeah,
think.
like a blue light
Yeah,
filter. So,
yeah.
so that helped me a lot too.
Really, yeah, I've
Yeah.
noticed as well. It helps me as well.
That helped me a lot too. So, s- yeah, like start to wind down. Don't do an intense workout an hour or two within bedtime.
Hmm.
Um, and then also have some, because to stay asleep, your blood sugar needs to be stable.
Hmm.
Because if your blood sugar drops, if the insulin drops too low, then cortisol can go high.
Hmm.
And if that happens, you're going to wake up,
Yeah.
right? If you snore, that can also disturb your sleep. And the reason why is because there's no clear air passage,
Yeah.
right? So if you've heard someone snore,
Hmm.
their snoring gets louder, 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 and then there's a pop.
Yeah, and they
then
wake
the pop,
up.
and
yeah.
then their brain doesn't wake up, their body wakes up,
Yeah.
and then they change their position, and then,
Yeah, I've
and
noticed
then
that.
they
Yeah,
go
yeah.
to sleep again. For that 1 second, you
Your
woke
s-
up.
Yeah, your
body woke
circadian
up.
rhythm gets reset.
No, it's not about circadian rhythm.
Then-
Your sleep gets disturbed
Mhm.
because when I say get 8 hours of sleep, I mean get 8 hours of undisturbed sleep.
Hmm.
So now, if you're snoring every half an hour, you're not sleeping 8 hours.
Yeah.
And you have that pop at the top where you
Hmm.
readjust your position. That's not 8 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
That's you're sleeping 30 minutes at a time.
Hmm.
So you're not entering deep sleep.
Hmm.
You're not getting the physical.
That's why people
recovery.
feel really tired
Yeah,
when they wake
even
up the
after
next
8 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
Because a lot of members in the gym, they come to me. The first, like, anytime I hear I have high blood pressure, the
Hmm.
first thing I ask is, do you get enough sleep? They'll either say yes or no. If they say no, that's the problem.
Yeah, and if they
Because
say
lack of
yes, then
sleep-
there's something going wrong, obviously.
Yeah, and if they say yes, then I ask them a follow-up question. And the answer to that is also yes. 99% of the time.
Hmm.
Do you snore? Oh, yeah. I'm like, okay, well, then you're not sleeping 8 hours.
How does someone stop snoring? Because this is just very common in the whole world, actually. So how does someone stop snoring, or at least take some preventatives to
Keep your neck straight.
next rate?
But some people, they're overweight. So what
Hmm.
happens is that they have a thick neck.
Yeah.
A lot of bodybuilders too, when they get to lifting, they develop very thick necks.
Hmm.
And that weight is like acting on their neck,
Hmm.
and that presses down on the windpipe so that the air pressure is I'm sorry, not air pressure. The air passage
Hmm.
is disturbed.
Hmm.
So, and that's why they get sleep apnea. Like they have some level of sleep apnea.
Hmm.
So the thing to fix that is, like, if you're diagnosed with sleep apnea, your doctor might give you a CPAP, CPAP.
Hmm.
So that's like a mask type device that you can put on your face, and then you go to sleep, because that device is gonna supply you with humidified air, and that's gonna help you to stop snoring.
Some people also take melatonin as a thing to get better sleep. Is that
Again, you take melatonin, but if you're snoring,
it's not going to be any use?
it's gonna help you fall
Melatonin,
asleep.
all that melatonin does is puts you to sleep, but
Yeah,
then
it helps you sleep.
yeah.
It helps you fall asleep,
Hmm.
right? But you have to have stable blood sugar. You have to have a cold room. You have to have complete darkness.
How important is sleeping at the same time each night? Sleeping at the same time each night. So, for example, you can't do like one day you go to sleep at 9 p.m., the other day you
Yeah.
go to 11 p.m. Do you have to like sleep at the same time every single day, or kind of differ a bit?
It's ideal to not deviate more than 2 hours
Hmm.
in your sleep time. So if you go to sleep at 12, you can go to sleep at 2 maximum. But
Hmm.
try not to push that too much, like 3 or 4.
Yeah. And what is the role of motivation and discipline when it comes to going to the gym? Because I always say in my video that motivation doesn't last forever. it goes away eventually. You might feel motivated for a week of going to the gym, but then it's gonna go away, and then you're gonna stop going to the gym. But when you have discipline, you have a goal that you really want to achieve. You stick to that goal. Discipline is so important. What is your thoughts on that?
Motivation helps you get started. Discipline keeps
Helps
you
you keep
going.
going. Yeah.
Motivation is you doing something because you want to do it. Discipline is you do something even though you don't feel like doing it. Because if you have a goal that you want to achieve, who cares how, like, you shouldn't kill it. You shouldn't, it might sound harsh, but who cares how you feel? You have to
Yeah.
do what you have to do.
Yeah, of course. Your feelings don't matter because the world will move on. It won't wait for let him get better, let him get be happy, and then we'll continue.
Yeah.
The world will keep going. It's a cruel world, and you have to adjust to it. It's gonna keep going, but if you start taking everything to your feelings, you're gonna stay there, and everyone will get ahead of you. And that's why it's important to not be emotional in a sense. You have to get the work done, no matter how hard for studying may be hard, but then you need to have discipline, because if you stop studying because it's too hard, then eventually you're not going to get your good marks. But when someone has discipline, they're even if they find it hard, they're going to keep pushing through it, and then eventually they're going to see their progress, and they're going to be like, oh, I'm glad I pushed through, and now I can see the results of my dedication. But someone who just relies on motivation, they're going to not be able to do it, and then at the end they're not going to get the results either.
You said it.
And how do you build a consistent workout routine? So this is something I struggled with at the start. Now I have a proper routine. But when you were starting out, how did you build a consistent one that you could follow every single week and without, getting it disrupted?
I followed a lot of programs that were already written.
Ah, okay.
So I didn't have to
Make your own.
make my own. Now I'm having to make my own because, just to get it adjusted with my work schedule and my working hours, I do sometimes follow programs, but back then I used to do it a lot. Like I mentioned, bodybuilding.com used to be free. And bodybuilding.com is full of really good workout programs. And I would follow a lot of them, so much to the point that even now I have them all memorized. And I know their progression style. I know the style of periodization.
I've not really heard of body. What was it?
Bodybuilding.com.
Yeah, I've not heard of it.
Yeah, it was a very old thing. Back when I was exactly your age, that's when bodybuilding.com was just.
What is it exactly?
It's a website where. Well, I strictly used it to follow workout programs. You select your beginner, intermediate, advanced, your goal, and then it suggests you workout programs from different trainers, and you just pick one and you follow them.
Right. And also during we did talk about this earlier as well, but during exam season, how important is it to go to the gym? Because
Very important.
Very important.
Very important. Extremely important.
Is
it's
it
going to
okay
help
if,
you
like,
study better.
Really?
Yeah.
But what if I have 2 exams back to back? Do I take a break from the gym for a couple of days, or do I still manage somehow? I still get time in.
Decide for yourself. Do you think that you'll be able to get more studying done and better quality studying and more productive studying done if you just stay at it the whole day, potentially exhausting yourself along the way? Or will you get more productive studying done with more focus and concentration if you went to the gym and came back with a clear head?
That makes sense.
That's up to you. Because in my experience, the second option is much better.
And it also depends on how you're studying, because there are different study techniques out there. Some that are more effective and less time consuming, but others that are less effective but more time consuming. For example, note taking is very time consuming, but it doesn't have the same effect as other techniques do. But something like active recall, which is doing past papers and stuff like that, that is much more easier. It saves you a lot of time, and it's much more effective. So it also comes down to what study techniques you're using and how you can manage your time based on that as well.
Yeah, so again, it all ties back to if you're managing your time properly from the beginning, and if you've been revisiting the material that you've studied every weekend or after every class, as opposed to like you study chapter 1 and then the next time you visit chapter 1 is before your finals.
Yeah,
I mean,
then it's gonna be very long for you.
yeah.
So you have to stay consistent.
I think there's also like there's a research that actually one of my professors showed me, and it showed a graph, and it showed the level of retention of the
I think I know
material.
what you're talking about. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
looked into that graph as well.
So I think it's when you learn it,
It's called space
when-
repetition.
yeah, or something like that. I can't exactly
Yeah.
remember, but the gist of it was when you're introduced to
A new concept.
a new concept for the first time, you retain it, but then
You
the
forget
next
it.
day you forget
Okay, that's
some
co-
percentage of
That's called the forgetting curve.
it. Okay, there we go.
Yeah,
Probably.
so
probably.
I've studied this before. So basically, how it works is that if you want to retain something, you're going to study it the first day, you're going to study it the next day, you're going to leave a 1 day gap and study again.
Yes.
Then you're going to leave a 3 day gap, study again.
Yes.
Then 1 week, then 1 month. And over time, you're going to retain that
Yeah.
information. You're not
I
going to
think
forget it.
the fourth or the fifth time you revisit that material, you retain
Everything,
almost
yeah.
90% of it.
Exactly.
So if you keep doing that from the start of your semester, then you won't have to work as hard during your finals.
Exactly.
And then you'll have time to go to
The
the
curve
gym.
you were talking about is called the forgetting curve. It looks like something like this, then goes down, then goes back up, then goes down again.
But it goes
And
down slower.
slower.
Every time
Yeah.
it goes down slower.
And by the end of your day, it's like it goes like this and then goes down.
Yeah.
It's very effective. It's called space repetition, where you space
There we go.
your learning. And that I've been doing that for the last 1 month, and it's very effective. So it all comes down to productivity techniques and how you use your time effectively, and what study techniques you do use at the end.
There we go.
Now, coming back towards the gym side of the things, how long should an average workout last for someone, a student, let's say? Because some people spend 3 hours in the gym, some people spend 45 minutes in the gym. So what is an ideal amount of stuff that a student should be doing?
45 to 60 minutes. Anything more than that is unnecessary. You
Really?
can even get a good workout in 40 minutes or 35 minutes.
About high intensity.
Yeah.
Does intensity matter more, or does volume matter more?
In terms of?
In terms of, let's say, muscle gaining muscle.
Gaining muscle is done by only one thing: reaching failure, making your sets hard. So
Upping the weight, even if going till failure.
doesn't matter if you up the weight, if you do more reps, if you like there are so volume is a bit more nuanced. Volume, the textbook definition is sets times reps times weight. So if you lift 60 kilos for 10 sets of 10 reps, how much volume is that? 60 into 10 is 600, into 10 is 6,000. You lifted 6,000 kilos. But if you do 200 kilos for 5 sets of 5 reps, 2,000 times 5 is
2,000 times 5? 10,000.
sorry, 200 times 5 is 1,000.
1,000.
1,000 times 5 is 5,000.
So you've done more. in
You've done
intensity.
less volume with 200 kilos.
Yeah.
But what's more intense? Of course, the 200 kilos.
Yeah.
Because a guy who can lift 200 kilos, 60 kilos is nothing for him. He's going to breeze through the 10 sets of 10 like it's a warm-up. So there is no real tension that's placed on the muscle
Yeah.
for it to grow. Because by that logic, you can take a 2 kilo dumbbell
And do it
do
for
2,000 reps on one arm,
Yeah.
and then you would be able to grow, but that's not.
This is something you told me as well, that your first rep should look nothing like your last rep. Last rep, you have to be fighting for your life. Like, you have to be going, all your hands should be shaking.
Yes.
And that is when you
It
know
should
that
be a
you've-
challenge.
Yeah. How much of a challenge should it be? Like, you're struggling like fully, or like you've struggled a bit.
8
but
out
not
of
as
10.
much?
9
8
out of 10.
Because I've done some sets where like I was struggling, but not that much. But for on the what do you call it, preacher curls?
Yeah.
Yeah, I struggle. Like my hands are shaking, my legs are shaking, and then I just try to go one last rep.
Yeah. So that's exactly what you need to do, because mechanical tension is the highest when the velocity of the rep slows down. That means there's more pulling force on the muscle, which it has to, whose resistance it has to overcome. So if you can maximize mechanical tension, you're good. But mechanical tension is also cumulative. So that means
It adds on.
increases with every set. So
Yeah.
if you do chest press and you take the first set to complete failure where you're just fighting for your life, as you said in the last rep, you're not going to need 4 sets or 5 sets of that
Yeah,
exercise.
only 3 will do. 2, even 2 will
Even
do.
2 is good. But if you're not going to that level, then you might need 4 sets, 5 sets, so that on the 4th and 5th set, you're fighting
struggling
for your
more.
life.
Yeah.
Right? But that point eventually has to come where you're just struggling. Otherwise, you're not going to build any muscle.
Also, a lot of people do progressive overload, which is, I think, the same thing that we're talking about.
That is progressive overload.
And what is drop sets? A lot of people do drop sets as well.
Yeah, drop set is just when you pick a lighter weight and you do a couple more reps, and when you can't do any more, you pick a lighter weight, and all that's done without
So
rest.
you keep dropping the weight
Yeah.
until makes sense.
Yeah, so I did bicep curls with 15 kilos, and then I dropped the weight. I pick
10.
up the 10, and then I drop the weight. I pick up the 8. Like that's how a drop set
makes
is.
sense. And how much rest is optimum between sets for, let's say, for muscle gain? And does it differ in terms of muscle gain and weight loss for how much you need to be doing, taking rest between sets?
For weight loss, the training actually needs to be a lot more intense systemically
Yeah.
on your body than building muscle. Because in building muscle, you need to stimulate.
Yeah.
You just need to stimulate muscle growth, and that's it. In losing fat, your workouts, I would say, need to be more intense. Your activity level needs to be higher so that you burn more calories. And rest times for muscle building also depends. If you're doing high volume, you probably don't need as much rest time. But if you're doing low volume and super high intensity where you're pushing, like the very first set you pushed was towards complete failure, then you might have to rest 2.5 minutes
Yeah.
for that next set to be equally as effective and equally as productive. But do what works for you, because you absolutely can build muscle with high volume. You absolutely can build muscle with low volume. So
Yeah.
me personally, I enjoy high volume more. Low volume, like let's say, because everyone loves doing like certain exercises.
Yeah.
Your favorite exercise might be bicep curls. My favorite exercise might be incline dumbbell press, for example, right? If I like doing the exercise, I would want to do more of it. So taking one set to complete failure and then resting 3 minutes and just doing one more set because I'm focused on effectiveness. And yeah, it is very effective, but I'm just not going to enjoy it. And I tried it. I didn't enjoy it. I like doing more reps and more sets and not resting as much because it's boring. So again, going back to how to build a workout routine, start off with exercises that you like.
Right.
And you'll continue to do them. And then build on top of that. Add in a few more exercises. Learn to do them. Master them. Master their execution. And then
Got it. And touching more on fat loss, a lot of some commenting that I've seen is that students get caught up in their studies and they start binge eating. You know what that means, right? Binge eating, where you just don't think about it. You keep eating. Your
stress eating.
Yeah, your appetite increases, and then you're just eating, and then you're gaining a lot of fat. This happened with me back in last year. So how does someone avoid that? And even if they do gain a lot of fat, how do they lose it?
Losing it is simple. It's not easy, but it's simple.
Yeah.
You need to be in a calorie deficit.
And for as long as it takes.
Yeah. A sustainable approach to a calorie deficit will help you lose weight.
What's the best way for someone to calculate their maintenance calories, their calorie deficit, and their calorie uptake?
Just go on Google, type in TDEE calculator, and then go to one of the links, enter your weight, your height, your whatever it asks you, and then it's going to give you a rough estimate on how many calories you need with the macros, with the protein, the carbs, and the calories. Start off there and make a plan. Okay, the calculator gives me 1,800. I will eat 1,800 every day. I will go to the gym, and then I will see what happens after a week. Oh, the weight dropped. Okay, continue eating 1,800 the week after that. The weight dropped. Okay, continue eating 1,800. The same thing, the exact same thing. And then it stopped.
Yeah.
Okay, now I need to either reduce my calories, increase my cardio, or some combination of both. And then you assess again next week. You make those changes, and then you see next week, oh, the weight's dropping again. Okay. Same thing with bulking up. You need to be in a calorie surplus.
And you need there's two things, right? There's a clean bulk and there's a dirty bulk.
Yeah.
And which one's better? The clean bulk is obviously better, but how do both of them work? Just eating in a calorie surplus. But in dirty bulk, you can eat whatever you want, if I'm not wrong, right?
No,
That's how.
dirty bulk is just eating a lot more calories than you need.
Okay.
So if you're in a 300 calorie surplus, you'll build muscle properly. You'll build muscle without most of the fat. If you're eating a lot of protein, that also helps you keep the fat off while you gain muscle, because protein has a high thermic value. It helps you burn more calories. But let's say if your maintenance level is 2,500,
Yeah.
then you should be eating 2,800, 2,900. Don't go above 2,900. Maybe even that's too much for some people. Depends. But okay, rough estimate 2,900. But if you're eating 4,000, 5,000
You're
calories,
gonna gain fat with that.
yeah, of course. Even if you're eating healthy, even if you're eating the healthy foods,
I have a friend. I think you've seen him. We go to the gym together.
maybe.
Yeah. So he's trying to bulk up. First of all, he can't reach his target calories because he's trying to bulk up. And secondly, he has very fast metabolism. So whatever he tries to eat, it just goes down. So in that case, for someone who's trying to bulk up but it feels impossible for them, what do they do then?
Okay. So, firstly, you need to calculate how much you're eating. Again, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Yeah.
What gets measured gets managed. What gets managed gets done. So, the first step is measure it. If you can't measure it, because you might not be eating enough. So, the first thing I would ask you is, are you eating enough? And then your friend, let's say, if I'm having a conversation with him, and if I ask him if he's really eating enough, and he says, I swear I'm eating. Look, I'm also tracking. Okay. Well, then I would take a closer look, because if you are eating enough calories, and then I figure out that you are making progress, but maybe it's not as fast as you wanted, right? You're lifting more weight. Okay, that's a good sign. You are generally feeling stronger. So let's say all your lifts for a particular muscle group are going up. Like, let's say if it's for chest, your flies, your incline press, your flat press, your dumbbell press, like all these chest exercises, you're lifting more weight on consistently than like more than 1 month or 2 months before. And even though you might not feel like you're making progress, you are. Because if you're lifting more weight, you built muscle. 100%. Right? Conversation over. So the initial submission of you not making progress was incorrect. Because maybe it's not as fast as you wanted, but there is progress. You're lifting, you're benching more, you're lifting heavier dumbbells. So that's a clear sign that you are building muscle.
Okay, makes sense. What about like if he cannot reach his calorie intake in the first place, so he's really struggling with it?
Just eat more. That's so. I understand that's truthful, not useful. So there are some tips that are beneficial if you're trying to build calories during the day in order to gain weight. White rice is a huge, it
Bad
works
for you?
wonders.
Oh, okay. Oh,
it
really?
works wonders if you're trying to bulk up.
Yeah.
And if you have a fast metabolism,
Yeah.
eat white rice, because white rice has a lot of carbs, has a lot of calories. It digests very quickly, and you will feel hungry again soon after. So white rice, add some chicken stock or chicken broth with your rice. Have that with your ground beef,
Mm-hmm.
and like you can have that multiple times in a day. By the
Yeah.
way, you can't. You can have 5 cups of white rice, and your stomach will be fine.
Hmm.
If you have 5 cups of brown rice, see what happens.
Okay.
Bloating and all of that stuff.
Hmm.
Like your the foods that you eat need to be fast digesting if you're trying to bulk up, right? So white rice is good. There's one more tip I learned from a pro bodybuilder. Salt makes food more palatable.
Meaning?
So you're going to be able to eat more if it's salty. So
Yeah, I've noticed that
yes.
I've noticed
So
that. You also
one-
feel really thirsty after you eat a lot of salt for some reason.
yeah, I mean you should be hydrating in general. But salt will make foods more palatable, and salty foods are easier to eat.
That's why a lot of fast food places have
Yup.
lots of sodium in
Yeah.
it.
So the the tip that I learned from a pro bodybuilder: get a bag of Doritos, open it, eat one chip, eat one, just one, not two,
Yeah,
just one, because no one's gonna eat just one, right? Eat just one. Get that salt in you. I promise you, within the next 2 hours, you'll be starving.
Really?
Eat
Wow.
one Dorito chip,
Just one.
just one.
And it works? Have you tried it?
Yep.
It works.
Yep.
Damn. I'm gonna give that to my
Yeah.
friend.
So if you're struggling to get enough calories, if you're struggling with your appetite between meals, like you have your meal, an hour and a half later, eat one Dorito chip.
Nice. Sticking to the point, how important is diet, and why don't people realize how important its importance? Because a lot of people don't really. They say, "Oh, I'll just go to the gym, I'll lose all my weight," but they won't stop eating the crappy foods they eat. So why don't people realize how important diet is, and how significant does a diet?
In my experience, people do realize that diet is important.
But they're not
But-
willing to give it up.
Yes, because they don't know where to start. They don't have a meal plan, and oftentimes when they do get meal plans, it's not because they grew up eating certain foods. Like in our Desi culture,
Dal.
there are specific foods that so many people like. When they change that and go for the grilled chicken with rice
Yeah.
or steamed broccoli, it messes with their head, like,
Because
what is
there's
this
not
that
enough
I'm eating?
spices and all of that.
Yeah, that like they need the cooked, the
Yeah.
oil, the salan and the like all of that. They need all of that. And look, you can't have it both ways.
Stuff. Of course.
You can't have it both ways because the typical Desi diet, and I'll tell you from my experience in Pakistan, even being a seasoned personal trainer, I struggle to get above 120 grams of protein. And when I was new in Pakistan, when I went back there because of the pandemic, the trainers over there would say, "How do you get above 120 grams of protein?" The trainers that I worked with, I'm like, "Wait, are you serious?" Because in a first world country like UAE, it's very easy. Over there, it's just not. And the foods are so, like, they're drenched in oil, and everything is cooked with oil and so much fat that you eat a meal and then you're not hungry for so much,
Of course. Yeah,
for
exactly.
so long. And then I'm just looking at myself like, I'm still full and I still have 100 grams of protein left to eat. Where am I going to get them? I can't. So that point in my life, I was heavily relying on supplements,
Right.
on whey protein.
How important are I've seen a lot of shakes and a lot of different, like milk and stuff like that in stores, but they're really expensive. I think it was this big in a 20 dirham bottle, and it was just like 40 grams of something.
Yeah. I know exactly which one you're talking about because that's from an actual nutrition company, Labrada Nutrition. I know
Yeah.
exactly which one you're talking about. Yeah, those are expensive. Just again, from a business standpoint, manufacturing cost, you have to sell it at a profit. But aside from that,
Do they actually contain 40 grams of protein?
yeah.
How do they manage to get in just that amount of volume? How much do they get? How are they?
I don't know. I don't know how they manufacture it, because in the same size container, some companies get 30, some companies get 25. It depends. But just get your protein in. It doesn't matter which supplement brand or which, like this is the overthinking part that I mentioned in the beginning of our conversation. But just, should I go for the whey protein isolate or this whey protein concentrate from this company and this brand? Bro, just get your protein in.
Yeah.
Whichever one, it's not important. Whey protein isolate just has 0 carbs and 0 fats. The other one is going to have like 2 grams of carbs and 1 gram of fat. Okay, who cares? Is that going to make that much of a difference in your fitness? Probably not. You're not going to step on stage and,
It's not going to be a visible difference.
I mean, if you're not a professional bodybuilder, you don't have to have every macro nailed down.
Yeah.
You don't have to have every macro nailed down. Just get your protein in and hit your calories.
Yeah.
Those are the only 2 things in your nutrition you need to be worried about. And any combination of carbs and fats, research has shown this, makes no difference at all.
Oh yeah, also coming to carbs, there's something you mentioned about water weight and how easy it is to lose. What is water weight and how do you get it? Because I think I had it in the last 2 weeks. I think I've lost 4 kgs, and I think most of that was just water weight.
Yeah.
What is it exactly?
It could be gas. It could be water weight. Because it's very easy to get to because you were probably bloated, right? It's very easy to get water retention, and it depends highly on the foods that you eat.
So what are some examples of food that can...
Like sodium.
Right.
If you're dehydrated and you took in a little bit too much sodium, you're going to feel bloated. And you can take a picture of yourself in the morning and then 4 hours later take another picture of yourself in the afternoon. You can look completely different based on the foods you eat. One picture, like in the morning, you might not be bloated. In the afternoon, you might be bloated. Clear visual difference.
Makes sense. What are some tips to, gain and lose weight for people out there? We already discussed a bit of it, but going into more detail, what are the best ways to lose and gain weight? Tracking.
Again, yeah. What gets measured gets managed. What gets managed gets done. So, yeah, I mean, that's the boring part, that you have to like sit down and track and everything. But, the breakthrough is in the boring stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
The breakthroughs are always in the boring stuff. It's the boring, repetitive, monotonous work that you're trying to avoid is where
everything gets done.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And are supplements like creatine, protein powder necessary for someone who's bulking up? Or are they just like an additional benefit that they can use to get their calorie intake in?
So, yeah, of course, they're an additional... It's just an additional help. Can you make good progress without supplements? Yeah, you can make decent progress, but of course you won't be able to maximize it. You can get 80% of the way there, but then the 20%, because like let's say with protein, right?
Yeah.
Start off with whole foods. Start off by getting your protein with whole foods. Now, as you continue to lift weights, as you continue to build muscle, your protein requirements will go up, and there will come a point where you just won't be able to get enough protein from real foods. Like, if you're someone who's been lifting for a long time, your protein requirement is 200 grams per day. And yes, you have to eat 200 grams per day. A lot of people don't recognize this, because I've had clients tell me, wait, I need to eat this every day? Yes, I thought that was an understood thing, but that's another thing. Because when I come down to meet my clients at their level, I figure out a lot of things that they don't have the understanding to. So that's when I sit down and then I just try to explain it to them. Yeah. So they're not necessary, but they will help you maximize your results. So if you're getting 150 grams from real food, no matter how much you try, you're getting 150 grams. That extra 50 grams you can supplement. But if you're getting most of your protein from the supplement alone, that's not really
effective.
Like, you're not using it as a supplement. The word means something. Right?
Supplement.
Words have meanings.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it's just there to supplement your diet. And you talked about another one. Creatine is the most researched supplement in the world right now.
Really?
Yeah, because people will always say that creatine is bad, because there are people out there who say creatine is bad. I mean, there's 50 plus years of research behind creatine, and if there was something bad about it, we would have picked it up by now. So time after time, studies have shown that there are no side effects of creatine. There was a meta-analysis of 101 studies. Only one of them showed a weak link towards creatine and hair loss. But again, correlation is not causation.
Exactly.
Creatine does not cause hair loss.
And despite that one research, you have 119 others that say it doesn't have any effect. So majority of them.
Yeah. There's like 100 other studies that all say that it's positive. It enhances cognitive function. It enhances muscle strength. It enhances.
How exactly is it made? What is creatine?
It's extracted. It's not made.
Oh, okay. From
Again,
what?
it's filtered out. Like, so beef has creatine, but you have to eat. So the daily recommended dose is 5 grams generally. You would have to eat a lot of beef to get 5 grams of creatine. And if you're trying to get 5 grams of creatine from beef alone, you would probably end up eating 1,000 extra calories, which you don't really need.
Yeah.
So creatine is beneficial. Some studies actually show that it helps your skin. It helps protect your skin from the sun. There's some studies that point towards that too. So 11 out of 10 would recommend.
Really?
Yes.
So I heard somewhere that it also helps you with the extra reps in the gym. Is that true?
Yeah.
Really?
Because your muscles have creatine phosphate as well as a source of energy. But that's very limited. The first 10 seconds of a high intensity bout is just creatine. Because you might have noticed it yourself. You start sprinting at your highest at your highest speed. The first 10 seconds or so, you don't even feel it.
Yeah, but then you start to feel it.
And then you feel it suddenly because your body goes to creatine. Because for creatine phosphate to convert into energy, it's a one-step process. Biologically speaking, like all these processes, like they have steps to them. It's a one-step process. Creatine, energy, done.
Okay.
So when the creatine runs out, that's when your body goes for the carbs, the glucose. Because you're at a very high intensity, your body's going to go for the glucose.
Yeah.
And that's where the lactic acid comes in. That's the anaerobic, glycolytic energy system that your body's using. So that's where the lactic acid buildup, the soreness, the burn starts to come in. But the first 10 seconds is just creatine phosphate.
Right.
Okay. Now, if you're supplementing with creatine, that first 10 seconds might become 15 or 20 seconds. But that's it. So it's good for high intensity exercises for sure.
Right. Makes sense. And what are some typical foods that students should avoid to, gain fat? Like, there are a lot of foods that we eat on a daily basis that are not good for us, but we don't exactly realize it. So what are some typical foods that we should be avoiding?
So we shouldn't demonize foods. It's not just one specific food that is bad and that's going to cause you to gain weight. Like people demonize sugar. Sugar is bad. Sugar is poison. That's not how it is. Sugar is literally energy. It's pure energy for the body. How is pure
excess
energy?
sugar is bad?
Excess anything is bad, but people have this misconstrued that sugar is bad. Sugar is not bad. It's just that sugar is very easy to overeat. Sugar doesn't curb your cravings. Sugar does not make you feel satiated. So it's very easy to overeat. And sugar is a carbohydrate. Every gram of carbohydrate is 4 calories.
Really?
Yes. Every gram of protein is 4 calories. Every gram of fat is 9 calories. Some fats are 8, some fats are 10, but that's just too much in the...
Yeah.
But yeah, every gram of carbohydrate is 4 calories. Every gram of sugar is 4 calories. But if you're eating 100 grams of carbs, which is very easy to do.
Carbs in everything. Pasta, you have bread in bread
Yeah,
has carbs.
yeah,
Every single thing has
yeah.
carbs in it.
They're so easy to overeat. You eat 100 grams of carbs, you just ate 400 extra calories without knowing. Of course, that's going to make you gain weight, but the magical thing is not in, like, there's nothing magical about sugar. It's just the total calories. Outside of a calorie balance, it doesn't matter how much carbs or sugar or fats or whatever you're eating. So long as you're in a calorie deficit, you will lose weight. So long as you're in a calorie maintenance, you will maintain your weight. You will
Right.
not gain weight.
Right. Final question. This is something for myself because I've been going to the gym for about 2 months now, maybe less. And I have seen some improvements, but just to say, how long does it actually take for someone to see progress in the gym?
Have you seen progress?
Yeah, a bit.
So in your case, 2
No,
weeks.
like proper progress.
I'll give you the rule of thumb because it's going to be different for everyone.
Yeah.
The rule of thumb is basically you keep at it for 1 month consistently, doing everything right, you'll see a difference.
Take a picture of before and after.
Yeah.
That will allow you to see how much difference you've made.
I mean, even like day to day, if you look at yourself in the mirror, you're going to see a difference. Second month, month 2 of you being consistent and doing everything right, your family, your friends, people close to you,
Yeah, they've told me already.
they've
yeah.
seen,
Yeah.
everyone would see a difference. And then the third month, the 90-day mark, everyone, your coworkers, people you see in the gym,
Everyone will
yeah,
start
they'll
to
start to see. But you have to be what 90% of people aren't, and that's consistent. It's not like you don't have to be a perfectionist. You don't have to,
just stay consistent, and you're gonna learn over time.
yeah, you don't have to be overthinking about everything. You don't have to be a perfectionist in this. You don't have to be very hardcore. You don't have to revolve your whole life around gym, unless you're a personal trainer. Then it's kind of your job to look a certain way. But unless you're in that category of people, you just have to be consistent, and that's it.
You've been consistent for over 12 years, or no? Was it on and off?
Yeah, well, I make this joke. Like, some people call it consistency, but I call it fear of becoming small. Fear of losing my...
You see your past self whenever you,
Yeah.
slack off. You
Yeah,
start seeing your
yeah.
past self, and you don't want to be that again.
Yeah.
And is it dangerous? Staying inconsistent, so going on and off. Is it dangerous for your body?
In what way?
In what way? Like, you're strength training in one day, and then you're not doing it for a few months. Then you're doing it again. Then you're not doing it for a few months. Is it dangerous in that sense that you're...
It's not dangerous, but it's not doing you any benefit.
Yeah.
You're
It's not harmful in any way.
You're consistently being inconsistent. Or inconsistently being consistent. No matter how you say it, you're inconsistent.
Makes sense. That is a good phrase, I would say. And do you have any final words of advice for everyone out there, for students, for anyone who's watching this video? Do you have any final words of advice for them going to the gym, for studying, for whatever it may be?
Yeah, just nail the basics, because that's what I stick by as well. Even with my clients, I'll make them do basic exercises. I'm not going to make them do any flashy stuff that you might see other trainers doing. So nail the basics, get the sleep in. Eat some...
The most important thing is getting started.
Yeah.
Getting started is arguably the most important thing.
Yeah.
If you don't get started, you're never going to be able to get to the goal that you want to be. It's just getting started, and then you're going to learn over time.
Yeah. So just get started. Like I said, get your sleep in. Eat some protein. Be consistent. Don't overthink. Just train.
Yeah, and eat healthy, obviously.
Yeah.
That is very important.
Yeah. I mean, I did this without a coach or without a trainer or whatever. If I had one, then maybe I'd be much further ahead. But if you learn something by yourself, you're better able to teach it to others. If you understand something all on your own, it retains better because you learned it all by yourself.
Yep.
And then you had those trials and errors, so you know what works, what doesn't work. And you've experienced what doesn't work firsthand.
Yeah.
You've experienced what does work. all a coach or a trainer is gonna do is
Help you in
so
your
you're
journey.
basically buying time.
Yeah.
Right? You're spending money, but you're buying time.
You're buying time in a sense that you're not gonna have to learn everything on your own.
Yeah.
There's gonna be someone who's gonna help you,
And you're not gonna run into the same mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. But I would say that mistakes are probably the most important thing anyone can make, because even you see millionaires, you see billionaires, the way they get up is by making mistakes and learning from it. If you don't learn from your mistakes, what's the point of you, in the first place? Why did you make the mistake if you're not going to learn from it? People demonize mistakes. Mistakes are not meant to be demonized, they're meant to be learned from. But if you do make the same mistakes over and over again, then they're meant to be demonized, because why are you making the same mistakes over and over again?
I mean, I wouldn't say demonized, but like there's a lesson in there that you're not learning.
Exactly.
And that's why you keep making the same mistakes.
Yeah. And if you make the same mistakes, you're never going to be progressing. So mistakes are probably the most important. This is something I've learned over the time. By making my mistakes and then learning from those mistakes allowed me to, become a better person, not just in general, like improve my habits, improve my productivity, improve how I am with others. It's just mistakes are probably the best thing that can happen to anyone in a sense as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's how you became a fitness trainer as well. That's how everything works out.
Yep. That's it.
Anyways, thank you, Muneeb, for coming onto the podcast. It was a pleasure. It was a really good discussion. I think this is one of the best discussions I've had. And it was really informing to me because I'm still a beginner at the gym. I would say not beginner because I went last year, I went the year before that, but then I always end up slacking off. But this year because the money is on the line, so I cannot, slack off as well. Because
there we go.
Yeah.
You have skin in the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So I can't risk losing the money that I've already paid for the gym.
Right.
So but this was a very, very interesting conversation. I appreciate you coming on. Thank you for coming on as well. And have a good day.
You're welcome.